Captain Kim Hannah walked slowly across the bridge of her massive starship. Through the large windows, she could see the beautiful planet Crystalis Prime spinning below them. The planet looked like a giant blue jewel covered in sparkling lights. Those lights were the crystal cities where the Keplers lived. "Captain, another ship from Earth is coming," said Lieutenant Park Min-ho. He was sitting at the communication desk, watching the green lights on his screen. "The Keplers want to dock with us," Hannah smiled. She always felt happy when the Keplers visited. They were strange-looking aliens with bodies made of clear crystal, but they were the kindest beings she had ever met. For 30 years, humans and Keplers had been best friends in space. "Let them dock," Hannah said. "And tell Dr. Veltar I said hello." The bridge was quiet and peaceful. Commander Lee Jun stood next to her, reading reports on his tablet. "Everything is calm out here, Captain. Vorthok ships are still moving around near their borders, but they haven't done anything yet." Hannah's smile disappeared. The Vorthok Empire was trouble. They were big lizard-like aliens who loved to fight and take over other planets. For months, they had been looking at Kepler space with hungry eyes. They wanted the Keplers' amazing medical technology, and they hated how close humans and Keplers had become. "Keep watching them," Hannah ordered. "Something doesn't feel right."
Yeah.
On the planet, Kepler children played in gardens made of living crystal. Their parents worked side by side with human scientists and doctors. The two species had become more than just allies. They were family. Hannah remembered the Great Sickness. That hit Rigel Colony 5 years ago. 50,000 humans were dying from a terrible disease that human doctors couldn't cure.
Oh.
The Keplers dropped everything and came to help. Their crystal doctors worked for weeks without sleep, creating new medicines and treatments. They saved every single human life. After that, the bond between the two species became unbreakable. Humans would do anything to protect the Keplers, and the Keplers shared all their knowledge freely with humans.
Captain.
Min-ho called out, "Dr. Veltar is asking if he can come to the bridge. He has something for you." "Send him up," Hannah said. A few minutes later, the bridge doors opened. Dr. Veltar walked in, his crystal body catching the light and throwing tiny rainbows around the room. He was tall and thin, with a face that somehow managed to look kind even though it was made of clear stone. "Captain Kim, my dear friend Veltar," said in his musical voice, "I brought you something special." He held out a small crystal that glowed with soft blue light. "This is a memory crystal. It contains the song that Kepler children sing about humans. They call it the Song of the Sky, friends." Hannah took the crystal carefully. When she touched it, she could hear the faint sound of young Kepler voices singing. In harmony, the song was beautiful and filled with love and trust. "Thank you," she whispered. "This means everything to me." "We have never forgotten what your people did for us," Veltar said. "When the plague struck your colony, we knew we had to help. That is what friends do for each other." Lee Jun looked up from his tablet. "Doctor, is it true that your people are worried about the Vorthok?" Veltar's crystal face somehow managed to look sad. "Yes, we are concerned. The Vorthok have been sending messages demanding that we share our medical technology with them. They say if we refuse, there will be consequences." "What did your government tell them?" Hannah asked. "We told them the truth. Our medical knowledge is shared freely with all peaceful species. But we will not give weapons technology to those who use it to hurt others." Hannah felt a cold anger in her chest. The Vorthok were bullies, plain and simple. They took what they wanted by force and never cared who got hurt. "Doctor, I want you to know something," Hannah said seriously. "If the Vorthok try anything, humanity will stand with the Keplers. We protect our family." Veltar's crystal body seemed to glow brighter. "And that is why our children sing about sky friends. You have shown us that the universe can be a good place when good people work together." After the doctor left, Hannah stood looking out at Crystalis Prime. The planet was so peaceful and beautiful. Kepler families were probably having dinner together right now. Children were probably playing games or listening to bedtime stories. "Min-ho, send a message to Earth Command," she said. "Tell them I recommend increasing patrols around Kepler space. The Vorthok are up to something." "Yes, Captain," Min-ho replied. Commander Lee moved closer to her. "Do you really think the Vorthok would attack? The The Keplers have never hurt anyone. That's exactly why they might attack, Hannah said quietly. Bullies always pick on those who won't fight back. They think kindness is weakness. She squeezed the memory crystal in her hand, listening to the faint echo of the children's song. The Keplers trusted humans completely. They believed their sky friends would always keep them safe. Hannah made a silent promise as she watched the crystal cities sparkle below. Nothing would happen to these gentle people, not while she had breath in her body. But deep in space, Vorthok. Warships were already moving through the darkness, heading toward the peaceful blue world that sparkled like a jewel among the stars. The alarm bell screamed through the starship at 3 a.m. Captain Kim Hannah jumped out of her bed, her heart racing. She had never heard the emergency alarm sound so loud and urgent. Captain, to the bridge immediately. Park Minho's voice cracked over the speaker. We have a huge problem. Hannah ran through the metal hallways in her pajamas, her bare feet slapping against the cold floor. Other crew members were running too, all looking scared and confused. When she reached the bridge, she saw something that made her blood freeze. The main screen showed dozens of huge Vorthok warships appearing out of nowhere around Crystalis Prime. They were massive. Dark ships that looked like giant metal beasts ready to attack. How many ships? Hannah demanded as she jumped into her captain's chair. 47 Vorthok battleships, reported Commander Lee Jun, his face white with shock. They came out of hyperspace without any warning. They're not answering our calls. Hannah's hands shook as she gripped the armrests of her chair. The Vorthok fleet was enormous, and her single ship was too far away to help. They were on the outer edge of the solar system, doing routine patrol duty. Get us to the planet now. Full speed, she shouted. Captain, at maximum speed it will take us 6 hours to reach Crystalis Prime, Lee said quietly. 6 hours. Hannah felt sick. The Vorthok ships were already there, surrounding the peaceful planet like hungry wolves around a sheep. They're powering. Up their weapons, Minho said, his voice shaking. Captain, I think they're going to attack the planet. Send a message to the Vorthok fleet, Hannah ordered. Tell them this is human space and they need to leave now. No response, Captain. They're ignoring us completely. On the screen, the Vorthok ships moved into attack formation. Their huge guns pointed down at the beautiful crystal cities below. Hannah watched in horror as the first shots were fired. Bright orange beams of energy shot down from the Vorthok ships. Where they hit the planet's surface, explosions bloomed like deadly flowers. The crystal cities that had sparkled so beautifully were now burning and breaking apart. No, 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 Hannah whispered. No. She felt helpless. Like watching a terrible accident happen and being unable to stop it. The Vorthok ships fired again and again. Huge chunks of crystal buildings flew into the air and crashed down. The planet's beautiful blue glow began to fade as smoke and fire covered the surface. Captain Minho called out. I'm getting a weak signal from the planet. Put it on screen. The main display flickered and showed Dr. Veltar inside what was left of the medical center. Behind him, the crystal walls were cracking and falling down. Hannah could hear screaming and explosions in the background. Captain Kim, Veltar said, his voice weak and sad. My dear friend, I wanted to say goodbye. Doctor, get to the emergency shelters. Hannah yelled at the screen. We're coming to help you. Veltar smiled, even though his crystal body was cracked and bleeding light. There are no shelters left, Captain. The Vorthok destroyed them first. They wanted to make sure no one could escape. More. Explosions shook the medical center. Pieces of crystal ceiling fell around the doctor, but he kept talking. Please tell our human friends something for me, Veltar said. Tell them we forgave them for not being here in time. We understood. Tell them we loved them like family, even at the end. Doctor, don't say that. We're going to save you. Captain, please take care of our children who are studying on other worlds. Make sure they remember Crystalis Prime. Make sure they remember that we were happy here. The signal began to break up as more explosions hit the medical center. Veltar's image flickered in and out. Tell the human children that we kept their drawings on our walls until the very end, he said. Tell them the Kepler children sang their song about sky friends even when the bombs were falling. The screen went white with a massive explosion. then turned to static. Dr. Veltar. Hannah screamed at the empty screen. Captain Lee said softly, "The medical center is gone. It's a direct hit from orbital bombardment." Hannah stared at the screen, unable to believe what she had just seen. Her friend was dead. The kind doctor who had saved so many human lives was gone forever. "Life signs on the planet?" she whispered. "Scanning now," reported the science officer. "Captain, I'm reading massive casualties. The Vorthok are targeting hospitals, schools, and residential areas. They're not trying to conquer the planet. They're trying to kill everyone. How many survivors?" The science officer's hands shook as he read his instruments. "Less than 50,000, Captain? Out of 2.3 billion Keplers?" The number hit Hannah like a physical blow. 2 billion people dead in less than an hour. An entire peaceful civilization wiped out by hate and greed. "The Vorthok ships are leaving," Minho reported. "They're jumping back to hyperspace." Hannah stood up slowly, her whole body trembling with rage. Around her, the bridge crew stared at their screens in shock and horror. "Send an emergency message to Earth," she said, her voice cold and deadly. "Tell them what happened here. Tell them the Vorthok Empire just signed their own death warrant." The emergency meeting on Earth lasted only 17 minutes. In the Great Hall, where world leaders usually spent days arguing about small problems, everyone agreed on one thing in record time. Admiral Choi Sungman stood at the front of the room, his gray hair and weathered face showing his many years of military service. Behind him, a huge screen played the terrible footage from Crystalis Prime over and over again. Crystal children running from fire, hospitals exploding. Dr. Veltar's final words echoing through the silent hall. "A Vorthok Empire has murdered our closest friends," Admiral Choi said, his voice steady but filled with quiet anger. "They killed 2 billion innocent people who never hurt anyone. They destroyed a world that existed only to help others." The representatives from all of Earth's nations sat in stunned silence. Many had tears in their eyes as they watched the crystal cities burn on the screen. "The Keplers saved 50,000 human lives during the Rigel colony plague," Admiral Choi continued. "They asked for nothing in return. They were our friends, our family, our teachers. And now they are gone." The vote was simple. War. Total. War. Every single representative raised their hand. Within 1 hour, secret messages were sent to hidden locations across human space. For decades, humanity had been building something in secret. After the border wars long ago, Earth's leaders had promised that humans would never again be caught unprepared. In asteroid fields and empty nebulae, massive doors opened. Shipyards that had been hidden for 20 years suddenly came to life. The ships that emerged were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They were sleek, black, and built for only one purpose: to destroy enemies completely. Admiral Choi walked onto the bridge of his new flagship, the TSF Vengeance. The ship was enormous, more powerful than any vessel humanity had ever built. Around him, officers moved with grim determination, their faces set like stone. "Sir," reported Captain Yoon Sora from her position at the weapons station, "all strike groups are ready. 347 ships, fully armed and crewed. Every captain is a volunteer." "Good," Admiral Choi said. "Signal the fleet. Today we show the galaxy what happens when you hurt a human's family." The largest human war fleet in history jumped into hyperspace, carrying with it the cold fury of an entire species back on Earth. The news of Crystalis Prime's destruction spread like wildfire. In every city and every town, humans gathered around screens to watch the footage. Children cried as they saw the Kepler children running from the flames. Adults stood in angry silence, their fists clenched out in soul. 10-year-old Lehman Seo clutched a drawing she had made of her Kepler pen pal. The crystal child had sent her pictures of the beautiful gardens on Crystalis Prime. Now those gardens were ashes. "Mama, why did the bad aliens hurt the nice ones?" she asked through her tears. Her mother, Captain Park Yoonji of the Earth Defense Force, knelt down and hugged her daughter. "'Cause some people think being different makes you weak. They were wrong." Keplers weren't weak. They were strong enough to be kind. Will the bad aliens come here too? No, sweetheart, they won't. Get the chance. Across the galaxy, other alien species watched in shock as human ships poured out of hidden bases. The Altarians, who had always respected human diplomacy, sent messages of support. The Centauri Republic offered to help, remembering how humans had protected them from pirates years ago. But some species were afraid. Vorthok Empire had been one of the strongest military powers in the galaxy. If humans could destroy them, what did that mean for everyone else? On the bridge of the Vengeance, Admiral Choi studied the star charts showing Vorthok space. His aide commander Kim Tae-young stood beside him with a tablet full of intelligence reports. Sir, we have confirmed locations of 47 major Vorthok military bases, Tae-young reported. Their main fleet is scattered across 12 star systems, and their homeworld has the strongest orbital defenses in known space. How long to reach their territory, Admiral Choi asked. 6 days at maximum hyperspace speed, too long. The Vorthok generals are probably planning their next target right now. Admiral Choi's jaw tightened. Signal all ships. We're going to jump directly into their space and hit everything at once. Sir, that's incredibly risky. We don't know what defenses they have waiting. Commander, the Vorthok just learned that humans have been peaceful by choice, not because we're weak. Now they're going to learn what happens when we choose not to be peaceful anymore. The human fleet jumped deeper into hyperspace, moving faster than any military force had ever traveled. Every ship carried the same message painted on its hull. Remember, Crystallis Prime. In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Song Jae-hoo prepared for the battle ahead. As the fleet's chief medical officer, he had worked with Kepler doctors many times. They had taught him new ways to heal, new ways to save lives. We're going to make them pay, he whispered to a picture of Dr. Veltar on his desk. Every single one of them. The human fleet raced through hyperspace toward Vorthok territory, carrying with it the anger of an entire species. The Vorthok had wanted to see what humans were capable of when pushed too far. They were about to find out. General Korthak stood in the command center of his massive flagship, feeling very proud of himself. The attack on Crystallis Prime had been perfect. His lizard-like face showed a cruel smile as he thought about all the crystal cities burning. Sir, his aide said nervously, we're getting reports from our border stations. Some of them have gone quiet. Probably just communication problems? Korthak waved his clawed hand dismissively. The humans are too weak to fight back. They prefer to talk instead of fight. But then more reports came in. Red warning lights began flashing on the tactical display. One by one, Vorthok military bases across their empire were going dark. Sir, we've lost contact with Base Game 7, reported the communications officer, his voice shaking. And Base Delta 12 and Base Alpha 3. Korthak's smile faded. He stared at the holographic map floating in front of him. Red dots were appearing everywhere, each one representing a destroyed base. How many? He demanded. 47 bases, sir, all destroyed at exactly the same time. The general's blood ran cold. 47 simultaneous attacks meant only one thing. The humans had planned this perfectly. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. It's from the human fleet. Put it on screen, Korthak ordered. The main display showed Admiral Choi Sung-min standing on the bridge of his warship. Behind him, human officers worked with deadly precision, their faces cold and determined. General Korthak, Admiral Choi, said, his voice calm but terrifying. You wanted to see what happens when you make the quiet ones angry? Consider this your education. The screen changed to show footage from Crystallis Prime, the burning hospitals, the dying children. Dr. Veltar's final words. Then the transmission ended. Sir. The tactical officer's voice cracked with fear. Human ships are jumping out of hyperspace. They're everywhere. Through the viewport, Korthak could see them. Sleek black ships appearing like ghosts surrounding his fleet. They moved with perfect coordination, like a pack of hunters that had been planning this moment for years. All ships. Attack formation, Korthak shouted. He outnumbered them 3-1, but numbers didn't matter. The human ships fought like nothing the Vorthok had ever seen. Every shot was precise. Every maneuver was calculated. There was no wasted motion, no unnecessary violence. Just cold, efficient killing. Captain Kim Hanna commanded a group of 20 human ships from the bridge of the Retribution. She watched through the viewport as Vorthok warships exploded one after another. "Target their command ships first," she ordered. "Anyone who gave the order to fire on Crystallis Prime dies today." Her crew worked in grim silence. These were the same people who had laughed with Kepler children and shared meals with crystal doctors. Now, they were instruments of revenge, Captain reported Lieutenant Park Minho. "The Vorthok are trying to surrender," Hanna said simply. "They didn't accept surrender from the Keplers, and we don't accept it from them." The battle was not really a battle at all. It was an execution. The Vorthok Empire had built their military over hundreds of years of conquest. The humans destroyed it in 3 weeks, on the Vorthok homeworld. Civilians watched in terror as their orbital defense platforms were systematically destroyed. Human ships moved through space like silent angels of death, dismantling everything that could be used for war. General Korthak's flagship was one of the last to survive. He stood on his burning bridge, watching his empire crumble around him. "We have to evacuate," his aide begged. "The humans are targeting our bridge." "No," Korthak said, his voice hollow. "This is what we deserve. We killed innocent people. We murdered children. We destroyed a world that only wanted to help others." Through the smoke and sparks, he could see human ships moving in formation. They were beautiful in their deadly precision, like a dance of Sisu. Destruction choreographed by masters. "Sir, incoming message from Admiral Choi," the communications officer reported. "Put it through," Korthak said. Admiral Choi's face appeared on the cracked screen. "General, you have one chance to save your people. Order all remaining Vorthok military units to surrender immediately. Your war machine ends today, and if I refuse, then we finish what you started. Every military base, every warship, every officer who participated in the massacre, gone." Korthak looked around his destroyed bridge. His officers were dead or dying. His fleet was scattered wreckage. His empire was finished. I surrender," he whispered. "Too late," Admiral Choi said. "You should have thought about surrender before. You murdered 2 billion peaceful people." The transmission ended. Moments later, plasma fire consumed the bridge. Across Vorthok space, the last military ships were being hunted down. Human forces moved with mechanical precision. Leaving no survivors among those who had participated in the genocide, Captain Yoon Sora stood on the bridge of her destroyer. "Watching the last Vorthok military installation explode?" "That's the last one, Admiral. The Vorthok military no longer exists." Good Admiral Choi's voice came through the com. "Signal the fleet. Mission accomplished. The Keplers have been avenged." The human ships regrouped in formation, their hulls scarred but victorious. Oh, they had done the impossible. They had destroyed one of the galaxy's most powerful empires in less than a month. But there was no celebration, no cheering. Just the quiet satisfaction of a job well done and a promise kept. The Vorthok Empire was dead. The gentle Keplers could rest in peace. 6 months after the terrible day when Crystallis Prime burned, the galaxy was a very different place. The Vorthok Empire no longer existed. Their mighty war fleets were nothing but floating scrap metal. Their generals were dead. Their dream of conquering other worlds had died with them. On a beautiful planet called New Kepler, near Earth, the last 50,000 Keplers were building a new home. The planet had green forests, blue oceans, and perfect crystal caves where the survivors could grow new cities. But this time, the cities were protected by the most powerful defense system humanity had ever built. Admiral Choi Sungmin walked through the memorial garden, where a giant crystal monument reached toward the sky. The memorial contained the names of all 2 billion Keplers who had died on Crystallis Prime. Each name was carved in both human writing and Kepler crystal script. Today was the dedication ceremony. Representatives from dozens of alien species had come to pay their respects. They stood in quiet groups, many of them looking nervous. Word had spread across the galaxy about what humans could do when their friends were hurt. Admiral called Captain Kim Hannah as she approached. She now wore the uniform of an admiral herself, promoted after her role in the war. The ceremony is about to begin. Admiral Choi nodded and walked to the podium. The crowd fell silent as he began to speak. 6 months ago, the Vorthok Empire made a terrible mistake, he said, his voice carrying across the garden. They thought that because humans preferred peace, we were weak. They thought that because our friends the Keplers were gentle, they were helpless. He paused, looking at the faces in the crowd. Alien ambassadors shifted uncomfortably. Many of IC them had military fleets of their own, and they were all thinking the same thing. What if humans decided they were a threat? We didn't want this war, Admiral Choi continued. We never wanted to become the monsters that parents used to scare their children. But you made our friends bleed, and now you know why Earth's allies sleep peacefully at night, near the front. Of the crowd, Dr. Catheny stood with the other surviving Keplers. She was young, barely an adult, when Crystalli's prime was destroyed. Her crystal body was smaller and more fragile than the older Keplers, but her eyes held a strength that hadn't been there before. We remember, she said softly when Admiral Choi finished speaking. We remember our beautiful world. We remember our families. We remember that when we needed help, our human friends came for us. The ceremony continued with speeches from various alien leaders. Each one promised friendship and peace. Each one carefully avoided mentioning their own military forces. Nobody wanted to be the next species to learn what happened when humans stopped being patient. After the official ceremony ended, Admiral Choi walked to a quiet corner of the garden where a small crystal grew from the ground. It was a memory crystal, just like the one Dr. Veltar had given to Captain Hannah so long ago. Admiral, a voice said behind him. He turned to see Ambassador Zexif from the Rigel Confederation. The tall, blue-skinned alien looked worried. Ambassador, Admiral Choi nodded politely. I wanted to ask you something, Zexer said nervously. My government is concerned about human military expansion. We built many new ships since the war ended. Admiral Choi's face remained calm, but his eyes grew cold. Are you planning to attack our allies, Ambassador? No, of course not. We just want to understand human intentions. Our intentions are simple, Admiral Choi said. We protect our friends. We keep our promises. And we never forget. Zexter swallowed hard. And if a species makes a mistake, if they accidentally harm a human ally, then they better hope it was truly an accident, Admiral Choi replied. We will investigate. We will find the truth. We will act accordingly. The ambassador hurried away, probably to send urgent messages to his government about being very careful around human allies. Later that evening, Admiral Hannah sat in her quarters aboard the TSF Vengeance. On her desk was the memory crystal that Dr. Veltar had given her. She touched it gently, and the sound of Kepler children singing filled the room. They called us Sky Friends, she whispered to herself. They trusted us to keep them safe. A soft knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. Come in. Dr. Song Ju-Hu entered carrying a medical report. Admiral, I have the final casualty. Numbers from the war. How many did we lose? 43 human ships destroyed. 2,107 casualties. He paused. The Vorthok lost everything. Every military ship, every base, every officer who participated in the genocide. Hannah nodded slowly. Was it worth it? Ask the Kepler children who are alive today because we acted, he said simply. Across the galaxy, other species were having similar conversations. The Altarians increased their trade agreements with humans. The Centauri Republic offered to share their newest technologies. The Draconis Empire, which had been planning to expand into neutral space, suddenly decided they had enough territory. On New Kepler, Dr. Cathany stood in her new laboratory, working on a cure for a disease that was affecting human colonies. She worked late into the night, just as Dr. Velter had done years ago during the Rigel colony plague. We remember, she said to the empty lab. We remember kindness. We remember friendship. We remember that when someone hurts our human friends, There will be consequences. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humans were peaceful by choice, not because they were weak. And that choice, once withdrawn, might never return. The quiet ones who remembered everything had spoken. The universe was listening.